graciously volunteered to give her testimony. And I think it will be a blessing to all that hears it. Um, just briefly, I've known Sister Heather for 20 years almost. I think it was, yeah, something like 20 years. And I was blessed to baptize her a long time ago in her pool, in her family pool in Yanceyville, North Carolina. And so she has had a journey. And I'm going to let her share that with you. And so I'm going to just hand it over to Sister Heather, and I think she'll be all right. We'll just give her this microphone. So I want them to see you here, so come over here. There you go.
This is worse.
No, it's not. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm naturally pretty loud, so I really didn't want to use this. So if it's too loud, I apologize. I'm just very passionate about sharing my testimony and what the Most High has done for my family and I. And I just want to start out, I'm going to go from about 2008 to present. But a quick review, I was born in 1975. Not a good experience growing up in my home. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, but it was not pure. It was a fake in front, if you understand what I'm saying. It was one way at home and then one way at church. So we'd fight at home, but as soon as we got out of the car to head into church, it was put on a smile. And if you didn't, there was consequence when you got home. My dad, my mother's husband, was military. Like I mentioned earlier, Mobile, Alabama, if you have any idea, they don't take in Hebrews very well, especially knowing what we know who the Hebrews are today. So to 2008, my children, we have 3 children, my husband and I do. There he is over here. And we were in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, brought up, carrying it on to our children, and thought we were doing the best thing for our children and for ourselves. Because when we got out of high school, we were rebellious. We left the church, if you want to call it the church. And so when we got married in 2001, the only thing we knew to get our life right was what? You answer it for me. Go back to church. Go back to church. And so that's what we did. And we raised our children in that. And then we started having concerns about some of the things that we were being taught. And Jeff raised concerns to the pastor. And basically the pastor said, well, I can't preach that because if I do, I'll lose my tithe. And that's how I feed my family. And that was probably the last straw for us at that church. But when you're a Seventh-day Adventist, and I was sharing this with Sis in the back earlier, really within Christianity, the denominations throw each other under the bus because you can't have 100 denominations under Christianity and all of them claim to be the right church. You know, it's just all of them are false, but they throw each other under the bus to fill the fannies in the seats, as Todd says, for your tithe money. And that's how Jeff and I feel like, well, we're going to church shop, but it wasn't church shopping within denominations. It was within Seventh-day Adventist Church. So shortly after that, we would visit it. We went to the Hall River Church in Hall River, North Carolina. And we had a truck driver come visit us in our church. And that is Mr. Robert Daniels over here. And where we live, it was a black church and a white church. And so Brother Robert happened to show up at the white church. And the greeter said, well, you may feel more comfortable if you want to go to the black church. And my husband and I were kind of appalled. We were really embarrassed. And we were like, no, you stay here with us. We're going to take you in. And another family did as well. And he went home with that family, ate lunch with them. And then you would come back 2 or 3 more times. And so the next time he came back, we had Brother Robert come to my sister's house, and we had Sabbath fellowship and Sabbath lunch. And that was my first interaction with Brother Robert. And I bring this to your attention. The reason why it's 2008 to present is to show you how the Most High introduced us to our Hebrew family. And at this knowledge, we didn't even realize who the true Hebrew Israelites were. We had no knowledge of that whatsoever. We were serving Christianity's God. We were serving white Jesus, if you want to call it that, but we did it with a true intention because that's all we wanted to do. We just wanted to give honor and praise to the Most High and follow him and raise our children in his truth of what we knew at that point in time. And so after our pastor had made that comment to Brother Jeff, or to Jeff, we were like, okay, we got a church shop. So we lived on the state line of North Carolina and Virginia. And so we decided to go to, it was Martinsville, Virginia next. And so I took, if you understand what Sabbath school is, it's kind of like Sunday school, but we call it Sabbath school. And my oldest was 4 years old at the time. She's 19 now. And I took her to Sabbath school. Oh yeah, my youngest, excuse me. Took her to Sabbath school, and it was a small church. And I saw this lady with 2 small boys. And I couldn't understand her because she spoke with a thick Jamaican accent. And I was like, yes, yeah, your kids are so cute, because her boys were so cute. And it was Miss Violet. It was Robert's wife, but I had no idea that it was Robert's wife. We had met just that day and had no idea that there was a connection, that they were married and had children. And so we left that Sabbath, and I was like, man, she's a great lady. She had a sunshine about her, and we clicked, and our kids clicked too. I mean, it was just natural. It was a natural process. That's why I know it was of the Most High. So not knowing that Robert and Violet were married, we went to a few other churches, Danville Church, I think, but we ended up going back to Martinsville. And we saw Robert, and then that's where the connection was. And I was like, this is your husband? We met him in the Burlington church, and it was just the Most High brought us together. And we were at potluck, which is like the meal, kind of like what we had here after the service. And I saw this family come in, and I think I had seen them before, and they always carried a blue cooler, and they sat not away from everybody, but just at a specific table at the end of the fellowship hall. And I was like, well, they're kind of odd, just because they carried their own food. They didn't eat like we did. They carried their own food, and they were friendly, but they were quiet, and they socialized amongst themselves with other people that would come to their table. And that family was Brother Todd and Sis Judy and their children, and had no idea that the Most High would bring us through the experience that he had brought us through. And as we journeyed in the Most High's truth, my husband and I ended up leaving. Well, let me just say this. The Most High put on our heart home church, because we just weren't getting fed with the Most High's truth in our denomination. It was just gradually going downhill. And it's all we knew, but we knew there was something troubling our spirit, that something wasn't right. And while we kind of like we were talking about the Catholic Church, while the Reformers loved their church, they weren't looking to leave. They had that truth that they wanted to embrace, to share. And we know that their leaders killed them. And so with Jeff and I, we didn't want to leave the Adventist church. We loved our fellow brothers and sisters that we fellowshiped with, but it was obvious to the point where we had to leave, because the things that we were bringing in question, it was like we were troublemakers, because we had this upon our heart, and the Most High was leading us away from the church, or what we thought was the church at that time. And so we just made the decision to home church. And it must have been around the same time, because the Daniels and the Glasgows were also led in that direction. I think it was Brother Todd that came to that conclusion first, right? You were the one, you want to go to church, you go to church. But I think you were the one that kind of was like, I'm going to start fellowshipping at home. And in his time, Brother Todd came to a ministry that we had started. I forgot the name of the ministry, in Yanceyville, where we lived. It was a little town where we lived. And there was about, how many families? About 5 other families that had left the church within that area. And we all started fellowshipping together because we were wanting the truth of the Most High's word, but we wanted to expound on it based on our Seventh-day Adventism knowledge, you know. And so we thought we were the real Adventists, you know. We're going to call out error and we're going to stand up for the truth. And really, it was with that understanding the Most High led us on a completely different journey than what we thought that we were being led to. And it separated us even more. And as Brother Todd mentioned, my convictions were I wanted to be rebaptized of all the things that we were learning about. And at that time, we didn't even have an understanding of the Hebrew Israelites at that time. This was just coming into the truth of Bible truth and acknowledgement of this is error being mixed with truth, and the Most High is not blessing it.
Right, the time it was Christ and Christ alone.
Yes.
That's right. That was the message.
Yes, that was the message. And Brother Todd came with that message, Most High's righteousness, the one he gave last night about being covered in the Most High's righteousness. And that's what saves you. He presented that, and everybody rejected that message, except for Jeff and I, by the Most High's grace, because it was the pearl of great price that you're searching for your whole life. And when you hear it, you know it. And you will lose everything to keep it. And from that point, we separated again. And so like I said, I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and my parents were, you know, asking us, what were we doing? It's just things that, you know, we're sending our children to hell, and we're going to hell because we've left the church. And the only thing that I could tell my parents were, my convictions are so strong that when I go back into a church building, I know the Most High Spirit's not there, because I had the experience that I have tasted. I had tasted him and his truth just in the perfect righteousness message. And they weren't teaching that. And so I battled with my parents, and my dad ended up calling the conference of whatever conference you guys came out of. I'm not even sure what it was, up in New England conference. And he said, Heather, I've got some news. You really need to stay away from Todd Glasgow. And I was like, well, you know, I mean, you can do all the research you want. And we were in the Carolina conference. And he contacted the Carolina conference and told exactly my testimony and what, you know, my husband and I had shared. And they were just really concerned. And I was like, I'm sorry. So that was the first stand I had made against my family. And that was very hard for me, because I've always craved and wanted my parents' unconditional love and acceptance. And so by taking the steps of doing all the things, you guys know what I'm talking about, doing all the things, you think you would get that from them, and never got it. And at that point in my life, I was like, I'm never going to get it. And I'm following my convictions. I'm not going to do what they want me to do anymore. I'm following my convictions. Wish I'd have done it 20 years before. But like I said, I was just searching for unconditional love and acceptance by my parents. So that was a huge step for me. And that was a huge step in our marriage too, because Jeff was also raised Seventh-day Adventist. And while it was sweet, Satan attacked, and he attacked my children, and he attacked our marriage. And we just kept holding on. We just kept holding on with what the Most High was showing us. We would study, we would pray. I was homeschooling our children and trying to protect them from the world, you know, and they were protected, don't get me wrong. But if I would have not been prepared for what was coming, everything would have crumbled. Everything would have crumbled. It was only the Most High that held us together. And I say that because what seems right to a man, we know the verse, you have to experience that. Because if you don't have that experience, you don't have anything. You're going to fall. You're going to fall. You're going to fall. And we held on to that. My husband and I decided to separate for a couple years. And after that 2 years, when we got back together, we were like, we're in this for good, because the Most High ordained it, one. And even though we still went through some battles, we knew the Most High would have us to be together. So if you know that, then everything else, it may be hard, but everything else is just confirmed. Just stay with the truth. And after that, Jeff, help me with my timeline here because I'm kind of off. We moved from Yanceyville, North Carolina. And remember, we were all fellowshipping together. And the Most High dispersed us. He dispersed the Glasgow family to Virginia, Washington, D.C. The Daniels stayed at Rocky Mount. And then the Most High moved us to near Asheville, North Carolina. So we didn't have fellowship anymore together. And so while it was sad because we were being separated yet once again, we were still together in truth.
Todd had a dream about it.
Yes, yes.
It was previous. He said in his dream we saw us driving in different directions.
Yes, the Most High.
It all just came in.
That is correct. Yes, and I forgot one aspect too. Sister Latoya and her children over here. About a year after the Most High showed me that we were going to be home churching and studying in the truth that he was trying to show my husband and I. He called me back to the Adventist church, and I'll never forget it because I called Sis Judy and I said, Sis Judy, I'm really troubled. My spirit's troubled. I was like, the Most High showed me I need to go back to the Hall River Church, and I have no desire to go back because I don't even believe what they believe anymore. I'm not within that denomination anymore. And she just said, follow your conviction. You don't understand it. Follow your conviction.
Todd said it.
Well, me and you had talked about it as well. But yes, Brother Todd always, his answer to everything is follow your conviction. And so that right there, from the get-go, it wasn't about, him or uplifting the message that he was teaching as putting light on himself. It was about follow your conviction, what the Most High would have you to do, because he wasn't trying to receive the tithe monies and the fannies filling the seats, as you like to say. And so I was like, okay. So I went back. It was a Sabbath. And someone in the church had passed, and they were doing like a dinner or something for the family. And Latoya was in the kitchen. Now, I had gone to church with Latoya previously, but we were not even acquaintances. She was just a church member, and I was a church member. We didn't speak. And she was said, hey, how you been? I hadn't seen you in a while. And I said, yes. I said, we've been home churching, and let me share some of the things we've learned with you. And at this point, I think you had the Most High gave you the truth of who the true Hebrew Israelites were.
That's right.
And buddy, I ate that up because once again, it was just like, oh my goodness, I read it, I studied it, we studied it as a family, and you couldn't deny it. I mean, Deuteronomy 28, that's when Deuteronomy 28 was like, that's the first thing. I mean, it was black or white, very clear. And I shared that with Latoya. And it was like a light switch came on in Latoya.
Yeah.
In her face, you could just see it. And from that point on, I gave her contact information. And if she wanted to fellowship with us, and from that point on, she has been with us since.
That's right.
And so with that being said, the journey that the Most High has taken us on, blood, sweat, and tears, lots of prayer, lots of Bible study, me one-on-one with my Bible, Jeff one-on-one with his, because my convictions came at an earlier time than my husband's. And I didn't want to push anything on my husband. And he had to go through his own journey and testimony to his own coming into the truth, because I didn't want to push that on him. We were already experiencing other things, but it did in time come. And I was telling the sis in the back too, once I had an understanding, when the Most High was showing me who he was, first of all, thou shalt have no other gods before me, who he was, who his son was, Messiah Yahushua, that's how I refer to him, and who his people were. Everything, those three things, everything else fell into place. So we may be questioning, if you're coming out of denomination, you may be questioning some of the things that we've been taught, because we trust that, right? We want to be able to trust that. So as you're coming out, you may question yourself, but if you have those three truths right there, the Most High is going to place everything else before you. And it's a very beautiful thing. And now, look at all of us here together. I mean, we have been able to grow in the truth of who the Most High is, who his son is, and who his people are. And I remember sharing this with my mother. The whole reason why I thought we were moving to Asheville was because I was going to take care of my parents. And I remember one of the last conversations I had with my mother back in, I'll be 48 this year, so it'll be 8 years. Yes, 8 years, 2016. I was so excited to share these things with her, and she was like, I don't believe it. Like, even with Deuteronomy 28 and sharing her the truth of just in the Bible of who the Most High's people were. And I was so shocked. It hurt my heart so much that she was willing to throw Most High under the bus, all because of a color issue. And I love my mom. She birthed me. She carried me in her womb for 9 months, but I had to make a separation from her. And the Most High has blessed. He's blessed because now I feel loved. The Most High has shown me that. And he's held to his promise. Like, he's taken care of me. Even before I came into this truth, he took care of me. But I was in ignorance. Some of it was willful ignorance. But once I came into the Most High's truth, I grasped it. And I will never, by his grace and mercy, I'll never let go. And so last night when I made the comment, we all got to go. We all got to go through it. But it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. And the Most High's never left us. And even when we did come into the truth, Jeff and I made the decision to be baptized. And we got Brother Todd and Sis Violet, and we had some other, before we made the split from our home church, Brother Todd baptized us in our pool. And people at our baptism were mocking us. And they were laughing at us, saying, this is not a baptism, this is a joke. And it was just, the spirit was there. We had a family, we had a meeting together, and they wanted to do a vote whether to keep Brother Todd as the speaker of our ministry. And everyone except for the Daniels and the Mercers voted, well, yes, well, why wouldn't we? And they really said some awful things about Brother Todd, and that he wasn't bringing the truth, and who did he think he was? And these were unawakened Hebrew Israelites too. I mean, they weren't Caucasians. These were, unawakened Hebrew Israelites. And that's how you know when someone's preaching truth. It's because the majority is going to go against it. And that's why I was saying, it's really, from my end, because I am a Caucasian, it's a heart condition. It's a heart condition. But with Hebrew Israelites that are unawakened, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm thinking, why wouldn't you embrace this message? Like, why wouldn't you? And I never understood that, but it's not for me to understand. There's going to be contention upon everyone, and the Most High is separating. You guys are here for a purpose and a reason. You're being separated, and I know you know that. But like the sis in the back, I mean, when you recognize that spirit, you've won the Most High's won the battle for you already. But when you recognize that, you immediately go to the Father and say, take this spirit off me. I just want your truth. And I don't need the spirit around me, the darkness, because it's a real thing. Right. It's a real thing. So I'm thinking, did I leave anything out? There is so much, but I know you guys, we need to get on with the study, but there is so much that we could share. Yeah. I mean, you just keep going to the Most High. And I can remember when we moved to Asheville, and like I said, I homeschooled my children, but my youngest, she wanted to experience school. So in the 7th grade, we found a little Baptist school to put her in up the road from our house. And I would drop her off at school, and I would go to the library, and I would study on the computer, because where we live, we still don't have Wi-Fi. We live in the mountains, and we don't have any internet access except for what I can get on my phone. And I studied from the time I got to the library till 2:30 till it was time to pick her up. I was just eating all the truth of who the Hebrew Israelites were. I wanted to know the history because I only knew the American version of what you get in public school setting of African Americans, I guess is what you would call African American history. Now knowing what I know, and I was like, there's got to be more to this. And the Most High showed me different Hebrew Israelite groups, which I did learn from some of that, but the spirit was never right. Like there was always something off in the spirit. I mean, I was born Caucasian. I can't help that, but I just want to follow the Most High. I didn't care if he was purple, green, black, blue. I don't care. I just want to embrace it. But I have an understanding that there's a history lesson. The Bible it's a history book. Right. And I never understood it because I was looking through it through what? Christianity eyes. Yeah. And if you go about it with a Christianity mindset, you'll never get it. Right. Like you'll never get it. It's a Hebrew book. And so after doing that for about a year, I came back to, again, I listened to Todd faithfully every week from his study. And I was just, the Most High put on my heart, just stick with this study, stick with this book, because he's the teacher that I gave you. It's not for me to know, it's for him to teach me. And I am a student, so no wonder why Christianity isn't teaching the truth. They don't understand it. And if they do, they're trying to cover it up. So never lose hope in your Christian brethren, because if they're truly seeking the truth, you could plant a seed and they may not accept it. But if they're truly seeking the Most High will awaken their spirit. They'll awaken their spirit. They may have to lose everything. Like right now, we have the freedom, right? We have the freedom to follow the Most High and do what his conviction, he's put the convictions on our heart. We can worship as we choose to, but there's going to come a time where you're not going to be able to do that. And so those people that I believe that will come into the truth in the very last day, they're going to die for it. But that it's going to be the Most High, because they're going to say, kill me, just take me, however it's going to come about. I don't know, but that they're sincere. So while we have the freedom to worship and learn this truth in freedom, there's going to come a time where those people in the end, they're going to die for it. So I really hold on to that for my mother. I love my mother. But I pray for her. Most High, change her heart. Change her heart. I'm not going to use the excuse, well, you were born in the South and that's just the way it was. And no, it's 2021. It's out with that. You choose to be like that, you can do it without my family and I in your life, and know she's hurting, but look, we all got to grow. Are we going to be hopping and skipping? No, it's a painful process. It's very painful, but the Most High gives me fulfillment. I mean, he fulfills all of those things in my life that I didn't have when I was in Christianity. And I started questioning Christianity, the tithing system. We were talking about it earlier. Like I felt like when I studied the biblical tithing, I felt like the biggest fool, because I'm like, Jeff, do you realize what we have done? I mean, we could have been helping people that were truly in need, but yet we were helping. But that's all we knew. Jeff always brings me back to, okay, calm down, honey. The other thing that we were really deceived in was, it was tithing. Oh, of course, the Adventist church prides themselves in the Sabbath. Like they don't even understand the first commandment, but yet they pride themselves in the fourth commandment, which is remember the Sabbath day. And I can pick on Adventism because I came out of it. I'm not trying to bash. I'm just trying to say the things that we were indoctrinated with, we had to unlearn all that, because that's all we knew. And we had to relearn it and re-educate ourselves. Not only, most important, the Most High Spirit had to re-educate us, but because everything that we knew there was error. It was truth mixed with error. And as you were talking this morning about 1844, right. Adventism prides themselves in that 1844 message. Right. But what I noticed, and I knew this, but what I noticed, it had nothing to do with Ottoman Empire. Nothing. It had nothing to do with with the awakening of the, Hebrew Israelites, it was all about a different message.
That's right.
And they're never going to get it.
That's
So
right.
if you're putting other things, you're just not going to get it.
That's right.
And so that's what I mean. It's just important to just allow the Most High Spirit to lead.
That's right.
Because everything else, it's just, and I'm really nervous. And I didn't want to talk with this, and I certainly didn't want to be on a video, but that's okay. So just hang in there, you guys. And I'm so glad I got to meet all of y'all. My earthly mentor and my earthly.
Oh, no. See, Sister Heather had wanted, we talked about this, I think it was this morning, right? The testimony. And I was so excited because she has a story to tell. She ain't tell y'all half of it. She ain't tell you half of it, but she has a story to tell. And I felt like y'all online, y'all out here, y'all were getting inspired by what she said. Were you?
Yes.
Yeah, see? So, because she has to. Now, the thing is, all of us have a testimony. None of us will stand on the sea of glass unless we got one. And the reason you be standing there is because you got one. Right? You would not be. See, when we was in the Christian church, you would hear people say the same tired story. Y'all know that? For 30 years, this man left me. The Lord took care of me. 30 years. I was this and Lord did this for me. And they know new story. What I like about this truth is every day you got a new story to tell. Every day you got an experience with the Father that's different than you had before. And you have something to say. If y'all notice, y'all can bear witness. We just used this book today. Did I have a notebook? Did y'all see your notes? Why? Because it wasn't my words. It was the Father's words. And how does that happen? Because every day is by his Spirit. I don't stand up here and say, okay, we're going to start in this book and we're going to end up over here. That does not happen. When you see it, that's as it's being told to me. And I'm telling you right now, all of you are going to be doing the same thing. And how do you do that? You fill your heart with his word. I know it's hard for y'all to understand. Some of y'all now, how you do? No, because you have to understand something. Did Moses walk through the middle of dry ground on the Red Sea? Do y'all believe that? Did Messiah walk on water? Do you believe that? Well, you know what? He can cause you to know his word. You might not understand how, but that's what I told you. You're going to read and you're not going to understand a lot. Don't get frustrated at that. When they start going through them genealogies, and it's boring as all, but go through them. It's a spiritual exercise. Go through them. And all of y'all have your own testimony. Now, some people are not as big mouth as me, can stand up and talk. But everybody has one. And when it's time, you're going to give it. Father's going to cause you to be a witness. And you're going to give your testimony. And just like Sister Heather, she ain't tell you, there was a couple of things I wanted her to say, but I wanted the Spirit to move her.
I told you to interject.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to do it. But we were in her Yanceyville church. And I think I told some of you this. And I was preaching at that time, the truth that the Most High gave me was Christ alone and the Bible alone. And in part of that message, there was no Island White. There was no church. It was just Christ and the Bible alone. So I said, the Most High had me say, all Christian churches are corrupted. Remember that?
Yes.
And brother, and in the crowd was Jeff and Heather, and it was their two daughters and their son. And they were all watching, and the other room was crowded with people. It was a small room, I don't know, maybe 30 people crowded in this little spot. And one of them said, oh, you mean every church but the SDA church? And I said, no, every church is corrupted. And you should have saw, from where I stood, they couldn't see what they looked like. But their faces went like this to.
They would have stoned you.
They would have killed me. In fact, one of them, an elder, came up later and said, if you keep preaching this, I'm going to have to kick your ass. He was from Washington, D.C. Brick. I said, you a hustler from the bricks, man. But he came quiet like that. And then they came forward, and then later on, they marched to the people to their house when we was doing the baptism, just like you said, and they demanded to have a meeting. They had to get rid of me. Now, I didn't care. It wasn't like I cared about whether I was going to be at their church or not. But what was really important is Jeff was there, and Heather was there, and all their church was there, and they were taking a vote. They said, we're going to take a vote, because they felt like because they were Caucasian, and we was the only black people there, that they would automatically follow what they all said. I thought it was interesting too. I knew what I knew they were going to do, but I was waiting. So they said, who believes that the SDA church is the church of Bible prophecy? Raise your hand. Everybody raised their hand but Jeff and Heather. Of course, we didn't either. Then they said, who believes that Ellen White's a true prophet? Everybody raised their hand but Jeff and Heather. And so they said, who wants to stay in the FDA church? Everybody raised their hand but Jeff and Heather. And that was the kicker. When they saw that, they said, wait. Somebody said, I think we should take that vote again. That had to be a mistake. Maybe they didn't hear us. Okay, who wants to stay in the SDA church? Raise your hand. And they all raised their hand except Jeff. And they were so shocked. They were like, they didn't know what to do. And I was about laughing right there. That made them matter. But it was funny. But that's where they took their stand in front of their cousins. Let me tell you something, brother. We all got to take a stand. And I'm going to tell you, in some ways, it's going to be harder for the children of your faith. You know how I know? If you ever been in the South and you see even the civil rights movement, the people that were Caucasian that stood for black people's rights, they got even madder. They wanted, because not only then were you standing up for the black people, but then you were, what they call you? Nigger lover, a turncoat. So your own cousins will be worse at you. And these two stood up and they said, no, we're going to stay with the truth. It wasn't they were staying with me. They were staying with what they heard from the Bible. And brethren, let me tell you something. All of us, listen, your family, didn't the Messiah say, I came not for peace, but for a sword? Mother gonna go against father, father gonna go against mother, brother gonna go against brother, sister against brother. Hey, that's the truth. And it's not like what we have learned, it's not like we're trying to separate from people we love. The truth is separating us from people we love. Because they're saying stuff like, what is wrong with you? Why are you following this? And then you're telling them, I'm getting it from this book, but they're saying, you're following that cult. Because in order to justify the hatred, they got to say, you're following a cult. When I was in the SDA church, they would say, there's a group called Shepherd's Rock. You're a Shepherd's Rock. And that, instead of saying, I'm telling you, I'm getting this from the Bible. No, you're a Shepherd's Rock. But they cannot receive the truth. Get used to that. And last Sister Heather said, I've told some of you the same way. Somebody said, well, I don't believe exactly what you say. I said, well, how are you convicted? I will never go against, if you say to me, brother, I'm convicted on this, I'm going to leave you alone. Whether it's good or right or wrong, I'm going to leave you alone. Those are the magic words to get me away from you. I'm convicted. And the same with me. If I'm saying I'm convicted on something, there's nothing you can say. I'm convicted, especially stiff-necked Hebrew like me. You let me be convicted on something. You can't move me. That's it. The only thing that can move me is the Father. So what I say to you all is be sincere in how you are convicted. Don't ever worry about what other people are going to feel. Don't ever worry about what your family is going to feel. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to bother them. It's going to bother them. But the key thing is you must be sincerely convicted. And that's what Sister Heather was talking about. She was convicted. Her mother, she loved her mother, but her mother couldn't move her because she was convicted. And she came to me and said, I'm going back to the SDA church. I didn't like it, but I didn't say, don't go back there. I said, are you convicted? And she said, yeah. I said, well, go with your conviction. And then she come out of there and here come Castro. Here come Castro with her. So that is the key thing here. That's why I say read this book with your Heavenly Father's spirit and let that Father's spirit convict you. And when he convicts you, follow the conviction. And he's going to show you there are things I have thought I was right, and he later told me I was wrong. And I had to swallow my pride and say, yep, I was wrong. Listen, you cannot learn unless you are wrong. The only way you learn is if you don't know. If somebody think they know everything, you already know there's a problem. Nobody knows everything. And so for me to learn what's right, I have to first have made a mistake and follow something that was wrong. I could not come to the truth of the Hebrew Israelites except I first became a Seventh-day Adventist and realized that was wrong. And I had to step and say that was wrong. Then I'm following this, and I'm thinking things that I thought was right. Ellen White's got to be a prophet. I mean, she discovered all of this stuff. And then I started reading the word and comparing everything she wrote with what this Bible said. And I started seeing discrepancies. And my thing was read the word. Then there were things I didn't understand. Like we were always taught we weren't going to eat meat in heaven. Ezekiel said they caught fish. He said they caught fish. He said, I seen fishermen with nets and they were catching fish. Well, what am I going to do? Argue with the Bible? We're going to eat fish then. You understand? So I decided a long time, what it says, I follow it. Don't try to add to it. Don't try to take away from it. And a lot of it we're not going to understand. But the key thing is that we do understand our Heavenly Father knows. And we need to go with him.
I wanted to add one more thing.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
I can remember standing outside my house. This is like one of the first Sabbaths we did not fellowship at the building. And I was like, Most High, I said, I can no longer identify with Seventh-day Adventism. And for me to voice that and speak that, I was scared.
Yes.
I was scared because we've always were taught within Seventh-day Adventism, don't leave the ship. Don't jump ship. You know, and so I was,
Remember that?
that is the silliest thing. I mean, I was a grown woman, but I was scared to voice that and say that. But the Most High gave me a peace and said, you just keep studying. And so I did, and I'll never forget, it was about a year later. And this is when I started studying the Ashkenazi Jew and who, you know, their whole role and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I cannot do this, because I was still calling myself a Christian then, you know, because the Most High don't give you everything at once. And I can remember when I said, I'm not a Christian. I'm a Hebrew Israelite.
That's right.
I am not a Christian. And it was like this burden had been lifted off me. And I'll just never forget the peace that the Most High gave me, because I was verbally setting myself apart from everything that I was raised in.
That's right.
Indoctrinated in, but I was standing on the Most High's truth.
That's right.
But I studied, I prayed, and the Most High answered that for me because I wanted it so bad.
That's right.
It was a very scary time.
No, it's scary, man. I remember when I first told my family, I told my mommy and the kids, I said, I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist anymore. And they said, but you gotta be. We're all Seventh-day Adventists. You gotta be a Seventh. And mommy's like, no, you gotta be SDA. I said, I am not an SDA. I said, I'll go to church with you. I'll bring you. But I said, I'm not an SDA. And I would go, and at first I could sit in there and listen, but then I couldn't even do that. So I said, I'll bring you. And I'll go into the fellowship hall and I'll wait in there until the service is over and I'll just read my Bible. But I'll bring you there. I didn't want to go. And then after a while, we went to about, 3 or 4 churches, and we went to one, and it was bad. It was bad. Like it was like this. They were trying to talk. And this is the thing, brethren. When you are reading the Father's word and you're studying his spirit, you're not talking from philosophy. See, man talks from philosophy. They consider every religion a philosophy. But when you are dealing with a living nation of people, that's not a philosophy. That's real. And what I try to do when we're teaching the word is I try to relate it to you all as it's real. Like I say, you don't have to guess about multi-generational curses. All you got to do is look in your family and you can see it. Nobody got to tell you somebody looks at you light and somebody looks at you dark, and they make a distinction, even though in your own family, because you all experienced it. So that's what we're dealing with experience, not with theory. So I started following what the word said and just listening to what it said. And people wanting to theorize, well, what about this? And what if this happened? That. I said, bro, this is what the word says. Period. There's nothing else to talk about. And the thing is, people would still rather philosophize. But when you get conviction about truth, brethren, there's nothing to talk about. Follow the truth. Follow the truth. And they will get angry at you. But then after a while, my wife said, this person that we was at them quarterly studying some garbage, and they said, it's impossible to achieve perfection. So then I said, and this when I'm sitting in the back. I used to sit in the back. They all turned around. I said, perfection is not something to achieve. It's something to receive. They turned around. I said, we get perfection as a gift and it changes us. And somebody, they just didn't know what to do with that. And then they came with their quarterly to give it to my children. I said, don't give them that. I said, let's get out of here, man. And we had to leave. And my wife, when we left that day, she said, okay, you ain't got to bring us back no more. We started home church. And then Violet calls me and said, there's these people in North Carolina. I said, they heard about me? I said, you sure they want me to come down there? She said, yes. I said, okay. So I came down there and I told her I'm not sugarcoating it. And I didn't. And the one family that was down there for the truth is what we see here. And yes, I had a dream. We was all in one car. And all of a sudden the car divided and it became two cars. And me and my wife's car went in one direction and the other cars went in the other direction. And I ended up at a gas station in the dream. And in the dream, the voice of the Father came to me and said, I'm sending you far hence. And it made me sad. And I started crying in the dream. And then I was taken to a train station. And I'm getting ready to get on the train, like in DC. It was a DC train. Like, you know how you go through the turnstile in DC, except it was outside, like in Vienna. You ever see that? You go through a Vienna turnstile. And it was like that. But then I'd never seen it before. I seen it in the dream. And he said, again, I'm sending you far hence. And that's when I told the brethren, we're going to be separated. I didn't know where we was going. I had no idea we were going to DC, but that's where we ended up going. And then we are down here in Florida, and the rest is history. Huh? Really far. Huh? Yeah, really far, man. So, but praise the Most High. This is the Bible study today. We're not going to go in. We're going to continue Daniel next Friday, but I wanted this because sometimes testimonies are more powerful than you could give a Bible study. Anybody else wanted to share a testimony? Any of y'all? I don't want to. All right, come on, brother. Brother Cobra from Tampa, Florida is coming forward to share his testimony. Praise the Most High.
Praise the Lord, everybody.
Praise the Most High.
So my testimony is I came out about 2017. So a lot of the people who's asking questions there, I would say you got too many teachers and you're listening to too many things online. And so I can testify to that because when I first came out, I was trying to learn Hebrew. I was trying to learn how to write the alphabet. I was trying to see if the earth was flat or if it was round. See, they have you going in all kind of directions. So I would suggest to you guys, just do what your teacher tells you. Focus on this book. One book. I had the Apocrypha, and I also got the other books too. But now I only focus on one. But I wasn't under this ministry when I first come out. So some of you guys might have just got lucky and got the best teacher, but you don't know it yet. So you're still looking, but you got a good teacher. So focus on the word. But my testimony is I wasn't looking to get out of Christianity. I was focused on my health. I had high cholesterol. And so I just typed in Google, should Christians be eating pork? And came up with this video about, I don't even know if y'all even heard of this guy, Brother Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So his thing was the pork deception.
Yeah.
I listened to that, but then on the side, it has other things that he did. Yep. And so that took me into who are you as a people? And he lets you know you are the biggest mystery the earth don't want nobody to know. I listened to that video, changed my life. And like I said, I wasn't looking to get out of Christianity. I was just looking to be a better Christian. Didn't want to do whatever the Bible, I wanted to do what the Bible says to do. So that's the thing that I think we all need. Learn to follow the Bible. Learn to trust that word. Your Father has more for you than you would even know. So that's why he don't want you eating certain things. He don't want you doing certain things. Man, if he can't teach you how to eat, you ain't going to be in the kingdom. What was the first sin? They ate something he told them not to eat. So that's my testimony in coming out. And I enjoy this life. I enjoy where it's taking me, and it's always struggle. My first year coming out, I told my family earlier that year that I won't be participating in the Christmas holidays anymore, none of these things anymore. And man, my family went ballistic. My brother could have killed me over that testimony that I would not be coming to Christmas this year. So you're gonna go through things with your family that you wouldn't think this stuff would bother them. I thought every black person in America would want to hear this testimony. We know who we are now, but they don't want to hear it, or they gonna hear it later. It's just that you came out first to pray for them and to keep them in prayer. You're not gonna be able to tell them. You can try it first, but it ain't gonna work for most time. It's like one water, one stove, but if y'all don't get an increase, their eyes is not coming open, their ears is not coming unstopped. So just keep praying for them. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Brother Yakob. Praise the Most High. I think Brother Yakob, no, that's right. He's one of the few of y'all that didn't come here through the Knicks channel. He was just listening to the word. Some of y'all had, I heard you do some Bible studies aside from the Knicks. And then they started listening to the word. Praise the Most High. Anybody else? I don't want to miss nobody. Anybody want to testify? I don't want to put nobody in the spot now. Don't do it if you don't want to do it. But if you do, here's the microphone. You can say something. Uh-huh. You coming up? I'm gonna say, does she need help? You need help with that? Okay. This is Sister Joyce, Lonnie's. This is Joyce Holloway, Lonnie's Holloway's wife. He's Lion of Judah, and this is Mrs. Judah.
Praise the Most High, y'all. I just want to pick it back off the sister over here. When I first came into the truth, the Most High been dealing with me with the truth since I was 17 years old. And I was in the Baptist church. Grew up in it, born and bred there. 34 years ago, I got married to another guy named Lonnie. My first husband's name was Lonnie. Can you believe that? He was a Hebrew Israelite. So he brought me into the truth. He finished the product that the Most High had started when I was 17 years old in the Baptist church. I used to go to church with my mom and daddy, come home and cry on Sundays because I knew the preacher was lying to me because that ain't what I read in the Bible. And I used to tell my dad, well, next Sunday I'm going to tell the preacher he lying. I told him I was going to go to church, tell the preacher he was lying. My daddy said, please don't do that. I would bawl up in a knot in the bed after service and cry. 17 years old. So I married my high school sweetheart. He was one of my high school sweethearts. He was a true Israelite. And that's the church that I was in before I met this Lonnie. Can you believe that the Most High gave me a first Lonnie, then he gave me my last Lonnie? But my first Lonnie got killed in a car accident, and we was only married for a year. We dated 8 months and was married a year, and he got killed in a car accident. So the Most High put him in my life to finish what he had started. And when I left the Baptist church 34 years ago, 50 people came out with me, even the pastor. They knew the truth. So my church family, they tore me down just like you. My family tore me down, except my immediate family. Like my mom, my sisters, my brother, my dad, they didn't tear me down. They stuck by me. But they always said, well, you need to come back to the church. I don't know. I don't need to come back to that church. God has, back then you said God. The Most High had gave me another route. I had to have service in my house for these 50 people every Friday night and Sabbath. I had service at my house. We would have Bible study. Some of them stayed, some of them went back to the Baptist church because they really didn't receive it. They were just going through the motion, and the family was tearing them down so bad. Like you said, they would go back. But you got to hold strong. You got to stay there. You got to see what's in the word. So, don't go back because your family wants you to go back. You don't do the Christmas. You don't do the Easter. We don't do none of that. And they don't understand why we don't do that. But you still got to stick to your guns. I got tore down so bad that it took me through like a depression. But you got to hold on. But my dad, he's dead and gone. He stuck by me because when they talked me down at the church, he went on my behalf. And he told me before, when he was starting getting sick, before he died, I told Lonnie about it. My dad said, don't you leave the truth. He was still a Baptist. He said, don't you leave the truth. I said, well, Dad, if you knew the truth, why didn't you come? He said, because I was stuck in tradition. I was only going by what I hear. Because, back then they don't have no education. My daddy couldn't read, my daddy couldn't write, but they had that knowledge. I said, well, Dad, you should have just come on with me. He was like, no, I just stuck in tradition. So he stayed there. But I can tell you one thing. My grandma, I took care of her for 14 years. She was from Brooklyn, New York. When she died, I was still taking care of her. I was having service in my house when my grandma died. And she would join me because she would always tell me, I ain't going to your church. I'm not going to accept no truth. But on the Sabbath, she would join me. Sometimes she'd be back in the bedroom, but she heard it. She'll come on up. She'll start clapping her hands or whatever she needed to do. She still wouldn't move. Every Sunday, that lady would pick her up for church. She was 86 years old, and she got baptized. My grandma came into the truth at the age of 86, living with me before she passed. And she had got real sick, and I had went to South Carolina for something. And she would call me on the phone because she had got real sick. My niece, I sat with her till I got back. She said, you got to hurry up and get back because I'm going to die before you get back. You got to hurry up. So I'm racing up the road, South Carolina, a long ways from Virginia. I got there. She wasn't ready to die. Another Sabbath went. I get home. She said, you got to come back here. You got to come back here just crying. You got to come back here. I said, what's wrong, Granny? She said, I found the truth. She said, Most High have given me his truth. That's what she told me. And she cried. I'm crying. She praising him. And when she got baptized, you could see the spirit turning in the water. At the age, she said, I don't want to die. She said, I told the Most High, I don't want to die until I get baptized. That's what she told me. They baptized her. 3 months later, my grandma died. But she died in the truth at the age of 86 because she watched what I did. So I understand what you went through. I understand. And that was supposed to be my testimony. But I was telling you about my healing. But this was my true testimony that I wanted to tell Thursday. So that's why I'm picking back off of what you said. Because Lonnie said, that's your testimony that you supposed to have told us. I said, yeah, it is. So when I got baptized, we got baptized in the river. And the family was, y'all going in the lake and get baptized? I said, yeah, you must don't know, do you? Yeah, I go in the lake, the muddy water. It was 50 of us. Wow. And they robed us in all white. And we all went down. They did 50 of us. And it's a beautiful thing when you go down and you know, and you come back up a different person and you know who you gotta serve. It's beautiful. And I won't have it no other way. And you know, the happiest part about me is that my children, they know the truth. See, I have 4. I adopted two daughters, and I got 2 older kids, and they all know the truth. Even though they may not do what they're supposed to do, but they know the truth. And I think I was telling you, was I telling you? I was telling somebody that I can go to bed. I was telling his wife, I can go to bed and lay my head down, don't have to worry about my children. That's a beautiful thing when you can do that. Because they watched their life you live. And my children never gave me no heartache. Because you know back in the days, they'll tell you your children will start worrying you until they get grown. That's right. But I can't say I can lay down in peace. I don't have to worry about my son out there because he's not. Because he's doing the same thing I'm doing right now. My son. That's where you're going to find him in the Word. He's 41 years old. And I want him to meet you. I told Lonnie I want my son to meet you.
Is he in South Carolina?
No, he's just moved to Indiana, to believe it or not, him and his wife. But I want him to listen to you. I'm going to give him all that information. And I want him to connect with you. And that's my testimony. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, brethren. All right, so unless anybody else? I don't want to exhaust the spirit. So, all right. Lonnie's like, all right, I got it. Well, I want to thank you all for coming today, for fellowshipping with us and giving the Most High his praise that's due his name. I would like to, what do y'all think about doing this next Memorial Day by the grace of the Most High? What do y'all think? All right. What about y'all in the room? Y'all want to get plans for next Memorial Day weekend? Because one thing about Memorial Day weekend in the United States is always on a Monday. And so you could always take the Thursday and Friday, plan it, right? So you got Thursday, Friday, and then you got the weekend. So if you want to, we could do it next year. And we start planning as soon as we leave here this weekend. We start planning for next year. Matter of fact, the man came in here today and he said, "You guys want to come next year?" We said, "Yeah, we might want to come next year," because he was apologetic because he gave us that nasty water, and I told him we need some spring water. So he said, "Oh no, I don't know, we got it for you." I said, all right, make sure you got it right next time. And this time they ain't put out no salad. We're gonna fix that too. So we could plan for next year by the grace. If we're all still on this side of the earth, above ground, we could plan for that, and we'll have it by the grace of the Most High next summer. So that's for everybody, all you guys online, you know. And here we are in Mystic Dunes Resort in Celebration, Florida. That's what the place is called. Celebration, Florida. So we're in Mystic Dunes Resort in Celebration, Florida. And so we're planning on doing it again next year by the grace of the Most High. And so save your money. You know, I know how Hebrews are. Save your money a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Save your money a little bit, and then we'll be planning it for next summer. And by the grace of the Most High, we may even need a bigger room. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But we had a beautiful baptism on Friday morning. It was who we got? Sister Heather? No. Sister Violet, my wife, Sister Monica. Who else got baptized? Brother Robert. That's right, Brother Robert. That's right. We had a beautiful. Oh yes, Latoya. We had a good baptism, man. We praised the Most High. It was a beautiful thing, and so we're looking forward to that. So for more next year. Listen, I am not, and the Most High is my witness. I don't care if there's only one of y'all. I'm gonna still serve the Most High. Okay, but it just so happens that I happen to know that as the time of the 144,000 is rising, there's also a time of new baptisms that's going to happen. It's not going to be the majority of planet Earth by any stretch of the imagination, not the majority of the Hebrews, not the majority of the bloodline, just the awakened ones. That's all, whether they be of Japhet, Ham, or of course, Shem. The Most High is awakening us. He's awakening us each, and that's what it's about. So I'm just saying, I'm believing there's going to be more next year, and I'm going to be praising the Most High because there is more. And praise the Most High. I don't care if it's a one of y'all or 10 or 1,000. That don't matter. As long as it's glory to Father Yah. All right. So let's have a word of prayer, and then we'll be going back to our apartments. And you guys know my room is 206. Y'all want to hang out? Just hang out. Father Yah, we want to give you praise and honor and glory. And we want to just thank you for all you have done for us and awakening us. We want to thank you for awakening us to your truth, to your word, to your spirit. We want to thank you for the high priest, Messiah, who guides us to you, Father Yah. Please continue to bless all of our brothers here. Break them safe from harm and danger on their way back to their homes. Please guide us and direct our paths in this life so that everything we do is for your glory and your honor. In the name of the Messiah, Hawashah, we pray. Amen. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.